Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Ron from Classic Electric of Point Pleasant, New Jersey. This was one of the first jobs of the new year, so it was about a month ago in the first week of January, where we were down in Ortley Beach. And so while I was working on a neighbor's house, this lady asked me to come look at some work that she wanted to have done. And then shortly thereafter, we came over and installed these RAB Gus lights. So these are the equivalents of the fluorescent wraparounds lights that we used to use many years ago. Now everything's LED. So these are pretty bright lights. And they're definitely not the cheapest lights out there. So they are some really good lights made by RAB. They're not that expensive, but you could do a quick search to see how much they cost. Anyhow, so what I'm doing here is I measure out the room and I figure out how I'm going to set these lights up. And what I want to do is I want to give the most amount of room, most amount of light in this room. So you measure, and here I'm looking for a ceiling joist to attach the fixtures to. And so what I'll do is I'll make a quick mark and then I'll put the light up just using some regular sheetrock screws until I come back and actually get right into the ceiling joist right there. So it's important not to make too many holes. Obviously, if you can make no holes, that's the best in a garage space. So this ceiling here is double 5/8 sheetrock. So that gives it the fire rating required by the building code. So I try not to cut any holes in this if necessary. Otherwise, we'd have to patch them. And I'm an electrician and not a sheetrocker, even though I can do that work. I try to stay away from it. So here, what I did was find out where my source electrical was going to be coming from, which is just over my left shoulder area, which you'll see later when I'm tying in these lights. And so the idea here is to hang both the lights and then run conduit for the supply, and then run conduit to each of the lights, and then run another conduit down to the Lutron Maestro sensor switch that we're going to be putting in. So the junction box in the middle is to make that splice. So inside that junction box, we have power coming in, we have power to each of the lights, and then we have another conduit down to the switch. So that's the wiring in place in that junction box. So I like to run EMT in a garage. We could run PVC. EMT is just a little bit easier to work with and faster. We could use PVC, like I said, but I think EMT looks nicer, and I'm a little more efficient with it than I am with the PVC. But either or would work in your garage space. So there, I just did a 90-degree bend, and that's the end of that conduit run right there. There'll be a box, and that's where the switch will go. So right now, I just want to make sure that the switch is high enough off of the ground, because this is near the shore, and we're supposed to be above the flood, the base flood elevation level. So this is why I'm putting this switch up probably about 60 inches to the bottom of the box, just to be on the safe side. All right, so this house is right on the Matineconk Bay. If you open up that back door right there and look to your right, you would see the water maybe 20 or 30 feet. So here, what I'm doing is I'm installing 12-2 Romex through the EMT, and you'll see it pop out the other side here in a second. And what I do then is I bring that cable over to a junction box that's also on the surface, and I use that for my power source to energize the two new lights and the switch. And so here the other way, I'm running what's known as THHN wire, and I'm running 3 conductors. I'm running a hot, a switch leg, and a neutral. The neutral is not needed in this particular application, but should I go back to this job and extend that circuit, I know that there's a neutral in the box. So it is required in the 2017 NEC that those neutral wires be in all switch boxes. However, this is in conduit, so it can be run whenever. But it's probably going to be me working back here, so I'll run that neutral wire now so I know I have it for the future. So this is the switch box, and of course I'm putting the ground terminal in there, and then I'll do some splicing, and I'll put these stake-ons, and I'll stake on right to the box so that the whole box and that conduit run is bonded, and it's not relying on the EMT as a path for the equipment grounding. I love these motion sensor lights in a garage like this because normally this room does not see any daylight. So it's dark most of the time, which I found in my experience the best place to have those motion sensor switches are in spots where it does not see too much daylight. Therefore, when you go into the room, the lights will turn on, and as long as it senses some heat that someone's in that room, the light will stay on. Of course, once you vacate the area at a set time on that switch, the lights will turn off. So there's quite a few wires in this 4-inch round box. Of course, by adding this one, I definitely go over the allowed amount of conductors in this box. So once I make my splice and I tie it in, I'll come back and I will put an extension box over this 4-inch round box to allow for the additional conductor space in the box. I hope that made sense. But we're only allowed to have so many wires in a box. There's a cubic feet space listed on each of these boxes, and of course you can find that in the National Electric Code. You have to excuse me, those are my two dogs making the squeaking noise. So it's kind of a tight spot right here working, and I did my best to get the footage for you, but basically I'm just finding the constant hot in here, and I'm energizing the wiring to the junction box where I make the splice. Okay, so there's a 4-inch round extension box which allows for the extra conductors in the box space now. And then we'll just tighten down those 2 set screws to attach the box together and do a blank plate, and we're just about done with these lights. So in a second here you'll see me walk through the door and the motion sensor will detect that I'm there and the lights will automatically go on. So I have these lights to stay on for 5 minutes after the area has been vacated. And then after 5 minutes of no sensing, the lights will turn off. Beautiful. So this way you don't have to have a switch right by that door. You can put that switch anywhere as long as those lights turn on. So here's my finished product of the RAB Gus lights, and I hope you enjoyed this video.